We started our journey to China in Munich, and via Berlin we flew to Beijing. We arrived in Beijing around noon. Our guide picked us up at the airport and drove us to our Holiday Inn hotel close to downtown. In the afternoon we were free, so we took a taxi to see the Prince Gong's mansion and view the Forbidden City from the top of a man-made hill in Xian Park. The Prince Gong's mansion is not what we would expect from the term mansion. In China this means a group of smaller buildings, not like a large single palace. This is Beijing's most complete example of a historic mansion. Built during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor in the 1700s, this palace is extensive and it consists of many pavilions in a charming garden, complete with open corridors, several pools and gateways. Originally built for Heshun, a Manchu official, but it was appropriated by the imperial family after he was found guilty of using forbidden regal motifs like dragons in its design. Later it was given to Prince Gong between 1850 and 60. This place is very popular with tourists, and indeed we had encountered lots of people visiting at the same time as ourselves. After this short visit we walked to the Yingshan Park that is directly overlooking the Forbidden City. The hill in the park was created artificially from the earth that was excavated from the moat protecting the palace complex. It originally belonged to emperors, and its purpose was to protect the city from malign northern influences. Yet it failed to save the last Ming emperor, who hanged himself from the locust tree there in 1644. The hill is dotted with several pavilions from where there is a superb view of the Forbidden City. There were lots of visitors in this fine, clear day. We observed a young boy also, who was dressed in traditional costume. After returning to the hotel that night, we opted to be on the safe side for a Western-style dinner.
Salátával együtt, krumplival. Hát a salátán még gondolkozok, hogy megegyük-e, de aztán majd meglátjuk. Én egy ilyen csirkét kaptam, szintén új krumplival és salátával.
The Tiananmen Square is the gate of heavenly peace. On the gate that leads to the Forbidden City, we can see Mao's portrait. Every year, a new painting is displayed. In 1949, he announced the founding of the People's Republic of China from this point. This is Mao's mausoleum. People are lining up to view his embalmed body. We did not visit the Chinese National Museum since its propaganda content. They are preparing to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the end of the Great War. The monument of the people's heroes is in the background. This is the Great Hall of the People, the headquarters of the Communist Party. To our surprise, the air was clear but hot and humid. We were trying to protect ourselves with colorful head umbrellas. We entered the Forbidden City by passing the Meridian Gate. This is the outer court. You can see 5 marble bridges. A pair of lions guard the entrance of the halls. The male is portrayed with a ball under his paw, the female with a lion cub. This is the entrance to the inner court. Here is the Hall of Supreme Harmony, where the emperors were enthroned. Only the emperor and his court attendants and visitors were allowed in the complex. Inside the palaces there is little to see because the Cultural Revolution burned many artifacts. The roofs of the halls are exquisite, heavily decorated with figures that are supposed to protect the buildings from fire. The palace complex was built in 1420 by the Ming dynasty. 24 emperors ruled from here for nearly 500 years. Part of the imperial garden is the pavilion of the 1,000 autumns. Some of the trees are several hundred years old. The rocks are a characteristic part of Chinese gardens. Above we can see the Jinshan Park's pavilion, where we were on the day before. After exiting, we walked by the protecting moat to a restaurant for our first Chinese lunch. The Temple of Heaven is the largest in China. It has a large garden. 3 tiers of marble steps bring us to the Hall of Prayer. We were not allowed to enter the hall. This colorful temple was built entirely of wood without using one single nail. Only the emperor used this prayer hall, asking for good harvest once a year at winter solstice. Chinese jade is very famous, and Sarah, our guide, told us that every Chinese woman must have at least 1 piece. These 3 spheres in one, the symbols of fertility, are created from 1 piece of jade. The construction of the Great Wall started in 220 BC during the reign of the first emperor and continued for many centuries. The aim was to protect attacks from the north. It proved ineffective because in the 13th century the Mongols and later the Manchus managed to conquer China. This section was built by the Ming dynasty. The road on the top is 7 meters wide on average, and there are guard towers placed 2 arrow shots apart. The wall generally runs on the highest elevation of the terrain. We had a hot and sunny day, so we worked hard to climb the steep sections, but the view was well worth the effort. The Wang is a most impressive structure stretching over 6,000 kilometers. We visited the Badaling section, 70 kilometers from Beijing. We approached the Ming tombs through the sacred way. On both sides of the road there were 36 carved statues of animals, mythical beasts and officials. Thirteen Ming emperors rest here, but we have seen only the largest tomb that had been excavated. We could see not only the tombs, but old coins and money left by the visitors. The Ming emperors chose this site according to the Feng Shui alignment, meaning that it was surrounded on three sides by mountains protecting the dead from evil spirits. The Summer Palace served the Qing dynasty, China's last, between 1644 and 1912, as a place of imperial retreat. The Chinese band played traditional pentatonic Chinese music. On the hill we can see a Buddhist temple used by the Empress Cixi. On the Kunming Lake there were many pleasure boats. We walked along the shore parallel to the packed long corridor, which is one of the longest walkways in China. At the end of the walkway stands the marble boat, which could never float. There is a bridge leading to the island, which is the copy of the famous Marco Polo Bridge. Beijing was established by the Mongolian Yuan dynasty in the 13th century. Today it is a modern metropolis of more than 20 million people. On this day they were preparing for the war and celebrations. Factories, many roads were closed, and military vehicles, airplanes rehearsed for the actual performance. Apart from the old center part of the city, we could see wide roads, apartment complexes which look the same all over the world. Elantra taxis are all over Beijing. They reminded us of our own car in Ottawa. There are wide, multi-lane roads full of traffic, including small electric motorbikes. Here is the TV tower.
For her birthday, she went back to the Forbidden City to live. So October 10th was her birthday. Did. She did. Okay, so just now we saw in the middle was the CCTV tower.
The Dragon Building is a well-known landmark of the city. We passed it several times. We stopped close to the Bird's Nest Olympic Stadium, but did not have a chance to enter the building. Here's the Dragon Building again. A typical Beijing shopping center does not differ too much from those of the Western countries. We have had lunch here at a restaurant. Our second stop in China was Xian, the old capital of the country. Our first stop here was a workshop where copies of the terracotta soldiers are made for sale and to order. They also make beautifully handicrafted traditional Chinese furniture, paintings and various artifacts. This gentleman signs our book. He was supposed to be one of the discoverers of this site. We are doubting somewhat this claim. The Terracotta Army is one of the top attractions in China. It is significant because the hundreds of detailed life-size models represent the army that triumphed over all other Chinese armies in the Warring States period and who ushered in the United Imperial China era 2200 years ago. It is considered one of the greatest archaeological sites in the world and one of the greatest discoveries of the 20th century. First Emperor Qin, from which China gets its name, ordered the creation of this army of terracotta statues. It was made to be buried with him to show his glory, to remember the army that triumphed over the other warring states to unite China, and because it was believed that objects like statues can be animated in the afterlife, and Qin Shi Huang required an after-death army. It had lain underground for more than 2,000 years before farmers digging a well in 1974 uncovered what is now considered one of the greatest archaeological sites in the world. The museum mainly consists of 3 vaults and an exhibition hall. Vault 1 is the largest and most impressive, the size of an airplane hangar. It is believed to contain over 6,000 terracotta figures of soldiers and horses,
but less than 2,000 are on display. All the most impressive terracotta army pictures were taken in Vault 1. On the southern, northern and western side there stand one row of figures serving as the army's defense wing. Every figure differs in facial features and expression, clothing, hairstyle and gestures, providing abundant and detailed artifacts for the study of the military, cultural and economic history of that period. This vault opened to visitors in 1979. It measures about 210 meters long and 62 meters wide, and at the bottom of the pit varies from 4.5 meters to 6.5 meters below ground level. 10 earthen walls were built at intervals of 2.5 meters, forming 9 corridors. Vault 2 and especially 3 are much smaller. Here there are only 68 terracotta figures, many of which are without heads. It's obvious that Vault 3 represents the command post, as all the figures are officials. After the terracotta army visited the center of our travel company and had lunch at the restaurant.
Minden hotel lobbyban van egy zongora.
On the way to the small Wild Goose Pagoda, Bea had a chance to sound the huge bell, after paying a fee, of course. Interesting to note that the sound makes the water tremble in the container. The pagoda was built in 707. It measured 45 meters tall at the time of completion. The massive 1556 Shanxi earthquake eventually damaged the tower and reduced its height by 1.5 meters. That evening our group was treated to a dinner and music show at the Tang Palace.
Yeah, it is. It is coming up. It is really warm. The opera house, like in Europe in the Middle Ages. Funny, funny, funny. So this is the lotus
Next morning we were taken to the old city wall of Xian that was built initially during the Old Tang dynasty between 1618 and 907. It is the most complete city wall that has survived in China, as well being one of the largest ancient military defensive systems in the world. The south gate is the most magnificent one among all the city gates. There are bicycles for rental here. We took advantage of this and rode about the half of the entire length. To cycle around the whole wall takes about 1.5 to 2 hours at a medium speed.
We are on the south side of
The wall now stands 12 meters tall, 12 to 14 meters wide at the top, and 18 meters thick at the bottom. It covers 14 kilometers in length with a deep moat surrounding it. There is a flanking tower every 120 meters. The flanking towers were built to allow soldiers to see enemies trying to climb the wall. The distance between the flanking towers is within the range of arrows fired from either side. There are 98 flanking towers. Interesting to note is that the base of the wall was made of earth, quick lime, and glutinous rice extract tamped together. It made the wall extremely strong and firm. Later the wall was totally enclosed with bricks.
This gate here to show is different from others. Yeah, this is a mosque. Let's go inside to see the trail.
The Great Mosque. Xian was the first city in China to be introduced to Islam. Emperor Gaozong of the Tang dynasty officially allowed the practice of Islam in 1651 AD. Xian has a large Muslim community. The significant majority are from the Hui group. There are an estimated 50,000 Hui Muslims in Xian. There are 7 mosques in Xian, the best known being the Great Mosque. This was the one we briefly visited. Beside the Great Mosque, there is a shopping district where you can buy almost anything available in China. Clothing, electronics, souvenirs, and all kinds of food is on display. We watched with interest the many items the vendors offered, but none of us ventured to try any of the delicacies. On the other hand, we tried their delicious tea, although we found that tea was available for much less in the tea house just beside our hotel. The traffic here was hard to describe. It took us a long time to cross the street. The chaos was unbelievable. Cars, motorbikes were going without discipline, and I just could not imagine driving a car under these circumstances. We paid a brief visit to the City Museum, and I will show some of the items on display here. We arrived with a good 2 hours delay in Guilin because the heavy rain halted air traffic around the region. Upon arrival, we were taken straight to the Reed Flute Cave, which is a landmark and tourist attraction in Guangxi province. It is a natural limestone cave with multicolored lighting and has been one of Guilin's most interesting attractions for over 1200 years. The cave itself is over 180 million years old. It got its name from the type of reed growing outside, which can be made into melodious flutes. Reed Flute Cave is filled with a large number of stalactites, stalagmites, and rock formations in weird and wonderful shapes.
That's what light is. And in the water. Because this was feeling very seldom snows, so people like snow. People name snowman. If children want to make snowman, normally the parents take them to the north of China.
Inside there are more than 70 inscriptions written in ink, which can be dated back as far as 792 AD in the Tang dynasty. These age inscriptions tell us that it has been an attraction in Guilin since ancient times.
And the bats hide in the shadows.
It was rediscovered in the 1940s by a group of refugees fleeing the Japanese troops. Nowadays, multicolored lighting artificially illuminates the cave.
in that part, the more crack on the ceiling, the more water getting in.
There was even a laser show at this point.
And beneath the elephant is a monkey. The monkey there, he's holding banana. And you move to the right, you can see the Santa Claus or Chinese Confucius. I guess in China you have seen in front of a many family house that people put a mirror. People put a mirror above the door to frighten demon, to protect the family safe. And here you can see my imagination story is like this. That's the mirror. Yeah. That's a centipede.
Oh yeah.
Centipede stands for demon things. So, mirror can send off lights, magic lights, and frighten the centipede. Okay, name of the cave.
Red Flute Cave? Reed.
Culture permit when the oyster 1 year old. We put a piece of sand inside. Day by day, year by year, they perform. No sand, no pearl. Yeah. And this sea oyster that already, I don't sure this oyster has a pearl because only 60% successful. Yeah.
So you have not opened it before, yeah?
Yes. And the sea pearl is found in the muscle, so we are luck. It is a beautiful shape, perfect round, yeah? But this pearl is still too young to be used for jewelry. We use the young pearl just make a powder and put cream for lady for face mask.
Is number?
What?
Is number?
That night we have seen a strange way of catching fish, called cormorant fishing. The fishermen put a ring around the neck of the birds, so they cannot swallow the fish, but it is shaken out of them. It was very dark, so it is hard to see on the video, but it gives us at least some idea of how it is done. Guilin, which means the forest of cassia trees in Chinese, is a beautiful place. Thanks to nature, the spectacular karst scenery made our trip as an impressionist dream, as a painting despite the humid weather, the lack of sunshine. As one of the most beautiful places on earth, Guilin has been well known across the world from the 1970s. In China, it has been known for over 1,000 years. The spectacular karst scenery of the shooting mountains, hidden caves, winding rivers, and rice fields dotted with village, water buffaloes will bring you into a special, picturesque world. We boarded the Li River boat in Guilin. We were on the boat for about 3 hours. When we first boarded, it was raining and we were seated at tables downstairs. We were not too keen on this and ventured upstairs to find it had stopped raining. We stood on the upper deck for the whole 3 hours, did not once get tired of the magnificent views. We watched water buffaloes and other animals. From small bamboo rafts to the beautiful mountain scenery, this was like floating in a dream.
Travel China Guide.
长射鱼和长射虾仅只限于现在上。
景点就会溜走了，因此你要跟紧你的摄影师，以实现，不然这3个小时后面就没有景色了。
漓江的5大美景，阳堤风光，浪石。
Yangshuo lies to the southeast of Guilin. It greets an increasing number of visitors annually. It is also the termination of the Li River cruise. The county is regarded as one of the most beautiful ones in China, and the local scenery is breathtaking, although we did not have time to climb the surrounding peaks. The special geography gives the town an amazing beauty. Keeping their original character, streets there present the simple and primitive atmosphere of the ancient town. The West Street in town is the most popular site, gathering and dispatching a great number of tourists.
Soya beans squeezed.
Well, it's because you don't have the rhythm for it yet.
These two families share the drinking water. They're brothers. They're brothers anyway. So they share the water. They pump the water. Hello. She's Austrian. They use the table cover made of bamboo to keep the flies away. One name. So one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hey! You can just throw to the field if you want. Naturally. In the rainy days, do the fishing, or do the rice farming, or just go to the mountain to herd. 太阳升，中国出了个毛泽东，他为迎灭谋幸福哭了海哟，他是我
我们大救星，就是唱歌。绿油油，红亮上青上出，彩虹的大城飘一朵，温哥的蓝天江之高，朵朵白云吹风去，我的家跟着毛泽东，我的家跟着毛泽东。
Very well. So if you want to ask anything, you have to shout. So normally I talk just near her ear. And I want to show you this piece of furniture, coffee. There's coffee. So Chinese people, coffee is coffee. When people die, they put inside coffee, yes, and then bury in the tomb.
Rice plantation.